My area of research has been spiritual formation. I've been a pastor. I, in fact, served as a pastor for close to 14 years before I came into formal theological education. The last 18 years, I've been involved in theological education. And one of the areas that I'm deeply passionate about is the aspect of what should we be doing to form men and women to become mature servants of Christ in our generation. And to do that, I believe that there are courses that address issues of intellectual formation, there are courses that deal with skill formation, but a vital component in preparing men and women for the ministry is the formation of the heart. Proverbs 4:23, Bible says, above all, guard your heart, for out of it comes the issues of life. And so the formation of the heart is something that every seminary should be concerned about. And this has to be done in many different ways. It has to be done intentionally, it has to be done as a community, it has to be done in a way that benefits all types of students. So there's not a one size fits all method, but something that you develop based on where the student is and where the student needs to go. One of the areas that I have been researching over the last few years is how do you take this to the online space? There are naysayers who will say formation cannot be done online. In fact, I have that same understanding that formation can only happen if we are in the same location, if we are together. But then, as I began to read and study and apply some of these principles, I began to realize that formation is something that can be done using technology. We can harness technology. In fact, when we think of the Apostle Paul, in the first century, he was able to mentor people through his letters, some of the people whom he had never met. If Paul could do that in the first century, what prevents us from doing that in the 21st century with all the tools that are available to do that? So, one of the things that I discovered in this journey is to create a model that will work in our context. And I realize that contexts are different and each country has its own challenges. But for me in India, this is the way that I envisioned how I wanted to bring this formation dimension into the training program, particularly in the online space. And so we have about 1,500 students who are involved in online and distance education in our seminary. And I began to envision and to pray and to think. And I came up with a three-pronged strategy. Number one, that the training should be andragogical. In other words, this is adult education where the onus of learning is not on the professor, but on the person who wants to grow. We can provide the opportunities, but the choices have to be made by the individual student. So it has to be andragogical. Number two, it has to be connectivist. We live in a world in the online space where people are very well connected. When I teach an online class on formation, often I have students from Europe and from North America and from parts of Asia, Australia. So I have students, many of them part of the Indian diaspora, who are scattered around the world. And one of the things that I try to do is to ensure that we have good conversations. We use discussion boards, forums where they can talk. And I just put the questions there. I just get them to connect with one another. Because the professor is not the hub of all the learning that happens. The professor can only facilitate the learning. Ultimately, the learners have to have the hunger to learn. And there's a certain dynamic that comes when people start to talk to one another digitally. So it should be connectivist. The third and final aspect in my research was the aspect of constructivism. Each learner has their own preferred style of learning. Some would like to learn through videos, some would like to read, some would like to engage in conversations. We provide multiple avenues of offering the same material in different formats to help different types of learners. And so, those are the three pillars on which I design my courses. I address particularly 7 areas of formation: the area of spiritual formation, intellectual formation, relational formation, physical health formation, vocational formation, resource formation, and emotional formation. So, 7 dimensions of formation that we look at our seminary. And there are different courses that address different issues. And the way we approach it is also very, very different. Some of my material is out there. If you look it up and just check out Samuel T Koshy on the web, and you'll find YouTube content that I have produced in the area of spiritual disciplines, the area of serving God's purposes in our generation, and various aspects of the spiritual life. It's been a privilege to talk to you, and I look forward uh, in God's time to interact with this global community of learners. My desire is to be a lifelong learner and to be a real follower of the Lord Jesus Christ, who can say with confidence, "Follow me as I follow Christ." God bless you.